Successful movie is built on a triangle. You have art, another point you have technology, and the other part you have business. And if any side gets too big or too small, the motion picture will suffer.
They think the more of this little thing that's great, by increasing it in these films, is going to make the film better. And it hasn't. It's actually destroyed filming. You know what we got rewarded for fucking Jurassic Park? Casper, Friendly Ghost. Let's redo everything.
Get this show on the road.
Let's do it.
Welcome, everybody. Movie Boners.
What's up, everyone?
Special episode today. We have our first guest co-host of the year. Only our third of all time. Yes, thank you, Mr. Christian Flore. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's been a while. We were just saying that you've been on the show before ages ago in 2021 when we did our interview. Actually, you were the first interview we've ever done as well. I remember being
very nervous. I didn't know that.
Very nervous back then. It was also before I knew you were like 18 at the time, and I was like, well, once we got on the interview, I was like, it's just some kid. But actually, it was really, really fun and really, really cool. And glad that we stayed in touch all of these years, just sending reels and DMs and stuff on Instagram.
Yeah, it's amazing how much my phone while I'm at work blows up. It's always like Christian's name on there.
I just send random videos over. I'm like, I think you guys would like this.
Yeah, you know us. We do like it for sure. So yeah, we're going to have a very interesting and different sort of episode today that's kind of experimental. I don't know entirely how it will go because we've done a couple of debate episodes, but this isn't really a debate, but it's kind of a debate. And also having a third party on, I think it will make it more interesting. And it was kind of your idea, Christian. So we had said, I had this idea for this episode maybe a year ago when I watched this documentary. We'll get into it. But I didn't know if it would really work or make sense. And so I kind of floated it on Instagram, which I never really do. And then you were like, hey, if you want a third guy to talk about the business side of this, I would do it. And I was like, that's a cool idea. Yeah, let's do that. And that took us forever to get it off the ground.
The funny thing about that was when you reached out and said, yeah, you said this, I literally did not remember. I was thinking, I don't remember saying that, but I'm always down. So
yeah, it was at least a year ago before when you said that. When I did that, it's been
just
on the
take the credit, man. Just take the credit.
I'll take it.
Yeah, there's no take backs. You gotta do it now. All right, so yeah, we're gonna talk about the three pillars of film: business and art and technology, and how they interact, and if one is more important than the other. And we'll actually each kind of be taking one side to focus on and champion. And I'm sure we'll do some devil's advocate on against ourselves of each of the other ones as well. But I think that'll be kind of interesting. Christian say do the business side. Dustin shows art, which I think is on paper sounds like the easiest one, but I think it might be the hardest one, honestly. I think most people, when they think of movies, they're like, art is the most important thing. But when I was looking at it, I was like, I don't think so. So we'll get into that. And then I got stuck with the technology one, so we'll see how that goes.
Jake says he got stuck with the technology, but don't believe that lie. He was excited for the technology because he's a dork like that.
I feel like technology would be the hardest.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like we're all in our personal lanes, and it should go very well then.
Now, what should be very funny and could possibly happen is if it turns out, Christian, you have done a much better job of preparing for this than Jake and I combined.
No.
The conversation even more fun.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, so normal podcast stuff first, though. We need to check in on the movie draft. Christian, this is a thing that we've been doing all year.
Okay.
I've been doing for a while, actually, where we drafted movies releasing this year to see how they do. And two teams. Dustin has a team and I have a team. We selected a bunch of movies.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this the past 2 years. It always looks fun.
Yeah, it is fun.
Stupid Lilo and Stitch.
It's more fun right now, considering that I am winning. So this Justice for Coyote versus Acme is my team. And right now, Lilo and Stitch blew up over $800 million.
Yeah.
Might reach $1 billion. I don't know. Seems like it's slowing down. But Mission Impossible Final Reckoning was also on my team. It's almost at $500 million, so that's definitely doing good.
Yeah.
Although How to Train Your Dragon just came out at the time we're recording this, and it's shockingly high IMDb rating, 8.1 initially at least. That's as high as Sinners was when it first started. And then the audience rating is at 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'm concerned. I wasn't concerned about that movie. I thought nobody would care at all. But that could put you definitely over the top right
I
now.
just need... This will be like 3 years in a row. I swear. If Lilo and Stitch hits $1 billion, I don't know what I'm going to do, but be mad at the movie industry. But
I think it's hitting $1 billion. I think it's going to be the second movie, because you have I don't know how to pronounce it, the Niza, which was the Chinese.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
we didn't do that.
I did see that, though. I did see that they made it a lot of money. And I think Minecraft went over, but we slept on Minecraft and said that it would probably suck like
I thought so
Borderlands.
too. Like, I did not think... I thought it was going to maybe do like 300 to 500, and I did not see it doing that.
We didn't even expect it to do that. We thought that was going to be like a weekend flop, just... They're going to yank it from the theater. This is going to be the biggest pile of 2025. And then freaking Chicken Jockey blew up and became a thing.
I really did think fans would like how it looked, but they were all about it.
Isn't it the same director as Napoleon Dynamite?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know really at the time, but it's fun to see Jared Hess doing stuff still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, let's see. Ballerina is doing okay. Not great. I expected a little bit more from it. Its box office is low. I think it might have not. It'd be more like the first John Wick, where it's like 86 million, not anywhere near Chapter 4's 440 million. But IMDb score is about average, as all the John Wick movies are like 4.4, 4.5. Or no, not 4, 7.4.
I know what you meant.
Thank you. Not even close.
I've known Jake long enough. I know what his brain was trying to do.
You're on the same flow. Yeah.
But yeah, you're about to have 2 big movies come out as well. Elio and 28 Years Later. That's good for you. Elio, I just heard, is bringing back the gag reel at the end of the animated movie, which is
I did see that.
something they should have done ages ago. I'm excited about that.
They never should have given up on it. Gag reels and post-credit, like behind-the-scenes stuff should never have left. It needs to be brought back.
Yeah.
Fully
Well,
agree.
whoever chose Elio, my prediction is I don't think that's gonna...
No, I'm pretty sure it's going to crash and burn now, because typically whenever I try to make a pick that's going to be like, this will be the one to stick it to Jake. I did it with Mickey 17. I did it with Elio. I forget which ones I did it last year with, and they always just become train wrecks at the box office. And then
Joker 2 was probably
Joker 2 was the big one. That was probably the biggest gamble I've ever taken, and that
did
really
not pay off.
sucked. That was just the worst. So
I still haven't seen the second Joker yet.
like, had we should have done that as a category in the award show, was who had the worst pick. I would have won that award hands down. Not even a contest.
I wanted Mickey 17 to do a lot better than it did, because I went and saw that in theaters, and it wasn't like a great movie, but I think Bong Joon-ho like had to follow up Parasite. He did like what anti-Nolan is doing now. Basically, Nolan's trying to like top Oppenheimer with the Odyssey, which is even bigger. But I feel like Mickey 17 was a lot simpler. It was never going to be a big movie, but I watched it and I actually enjoyed it enough. But I wanted it to be bigger and more. I wanted it to be more mainstream.
Yeah, that's kind of how I thought it would be as well. I still haven't gotten around to watching it. I was like, I'll put it on the list, but I keep forgetting to. Are there any other movies this year, Christian, that you're interested in seeing? I know you're a big F1 guy.
Oh yeah. I want to see F1. Zooming on your list here. Superman. I'm torn with, like, I'm gonna see it, and I like James Gunn.
Yeah.
I don't know what, based on the trailer that I saw, it's so hard, because I think what Zack Snyder did with Henry Cavill, even though it wasn't a very good movie, I think he
bite your tongue, sir.
he nailed the character for today. So I think the Matt Reeves Superman fit that culture, and trying to revive that type of style, I don't think caters well long term, especially with my generation, because it feels too cheesy. And so Henry Cavill was that very gritty. So I'm happy for James Gunn. I really hope it works out. I really do. But we will see what the audience says. It looks like it's tracking to do well, so that's
Well,
nice.
I was going to say, so far, just with their pre-sales, it's doing huge numbers right now for pre-sale. So, if anything, I'm going to get box office on that one, and that's all right. So.
Oh, yeah. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's see. Anything else? I don't think that's everything that you talked about.
Oh, I forgot Jurassic World. Jurassic World, I don't know. Like, they're good, but I just don't know how all of them make so much money. Like,
I don't either. The last one has like the lowest IMDb rating ever and still made $1 billion. It's kind of crazy.
it is. It really is.
The one that got back like all the original cast, or at least some of the original cast.
A couple of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out.
We will. Only time will tell. And then one brief thing of movie news that don't need to get too deep into, but I did want to, Dustin, I don't know if you've seen this yet or not.
If it's what I think you are going to say, it's something you and I have been like, are we doing this or what?
Yeah. Is it how Mel Brooks, who is
Yes, it
currently
is.
98 years young,
Oh,
just announced
oh,
Spaceballs 2?
Yep.
I don't exactly know how I feel, but I want to be excited about it.
I am on the same page. I was like, cool, they announced it. And then immediately I thought of you describing to me how terrible the History of the World Part 2 ended up being. And I was like, well, I refuse to watch that because Jake told me it would ruin my life. So I want to be excited about Spaceballs, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know.
It'll be interesting to see Mel Brooks as Yogurt. I think probably the thing I'm most interested in is Rick Moranis coming out of retirement for the first time since 1991 or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's been 30 years. I think it's somewhere around 30 years that Moranis is coming out of retirement.
Yeah,
he was a big actor for our generation, Christian. Like,
it's over my head.
Yes, Rick Moranis was a staple in like family movies in the late 80s and early 90s. And he retired from acting because his wife passed away, and he quit acting so he could be a full-time dad.
I've never actually seen any Mel Brooks movies. I was told the plotline of Spaceballs, well, basically like a spoof off of Star Wars, and I knew I'd like it. I never got around to watching it. But honestly, when I just saw, I think that yesterday, about the Spaceballs 2, I'm all for it, even though I probably won't go see it. But I was just telling somebody like a few months ago that we should bring back the spoof movies. Like, we haven't, like the 2010s were just riddled with the spoof movies, and they weren't great, but it was just fun and stupid.
See, we need to bring back the spoof movies from like our parents, like our dad's generation style. So like they're trying to do it with The Naked Gun, rebooting that with Liam Neeson, which I'm still on the fence with, although the last teaser they did probably put me on board with it. I don't know if you saw that, where they do the wall of like the photos of their dads, and the last one is O.J. Simpson, and the guy is like, no. That put me, I was like, all right, here we go. But there was, if you ever want to see like true parody, like the best parody, Christian, you have to watch Mel Brooks, Robin Hood Men in Tights. You got to watch, the Naked Gun series. You've got to watch, well, basically any Mel Brooks movie from the 80s, honestly.
I got my weekend filled though.
They are just like, you got to watch Hot Shots Part 1 and Part 2 with Charlie Sheen. They are just, there was something special and incredibly stupid about those spoofs that made them so good. And the ones you're talking about, when they tried to like force a lot of that comedy, some of it worked, but a lot of it didn't, because none of those people really had that like natural kind of instinct, at least in my opinion. But I agree fully, bring back the satire, because those were great. We do need those.
It kind of piggybacks off of what I was saying about Henry Cavill, Superman, and Zack Snyder. Is Is my generation ready for this full-on cheesiness, or do we find that inauthentic? And
I think all the generations, yours especially, need the cheesiness
Yes.
and
No,
the stupidity
I agree.
and the
I
silliness. I think there's but we don't got to go down that rabbit hole too far. But Jake's laughing because we probably could. Yeah, I think we need the silliness.
yes, I
desperately.
agree.
Just for comedies to come back and be stronger again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the Judd Apatow, Vince Vaughn, like
Absolutely.
I honestly didn't start watching those up until COVID, and
Okay.
I fell in love with that style, and now all of those, like I'll watch a movie and I'll just see the poster and I go, I think that's a Judd Apatow produced, or at least a Judd Apatow and family, I would say, because there was like a whole bunch of producers that came off of him.
Yeah.
And I watch it and I go like, this is my favorite movie, like of all time, or one of my top 10 or whatever. Like This Is 40, or is it with Paul Rudd?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
What was another? There's so many. Couples Retreat, iconic. I could talk for hours on that, but
Yeah.
Well, before we do that, Jake, what new movies have you watched?
Oh, yes.
Before we
thank you.
forget, because we
That's
will.
We will. Good point. So I only watched one new thing lately. It's actually a series, but it's called Under the Banner of Heaven. And it's from 2022. It has a crazy cast. Andrew Garfield, Sam Worthington, Daisy Edgar-Jones, who just kind of got bigger with Twisters.
Oh, I wanted to see it. That came out like two or 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2022.
Twisters?
Yeah,
Or the banner of the banner of heaven.
because is he a detective or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield's a detective, but it takes place in Utah in, I want to say like the 80s or something like that. And he's like very Mormon and like just fully invested, but investigates this murder that has to do with a family that is like really big in Utah and kind of very well known within the Church of Latter-day Saints and all that stuff. And so it kind of starts getting into, it's weird. It's like a crime thriller, but also like delves into the history of like the founding of Mormonism and stuff. And so he has to kind of wrestle with like all of the values and benefits he sees in his life with versus like some of the more extreme fundamentalism that is also part of the religion and the bizarre history of the religion, and kind of separate the two. And Wyatt Russell's also in it. So it was really, really good. I thought it was very, very interesting and does a good job of not, I feel like a topic like that could be preachy, but I thought it did a good job of just telling the story as is, basically. I thought it was really good. And especially if you like crime thrillers and historical context, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. I'll definitely have to watch that because I had that on my list years ago. And I'd forgotten about it. But I know when I saw the trailer, I was like, this is going to be good, I think. Especially Andrew Garfield. I think he offers a lot of range.
Oh, for sure.
But as far as things I've been watching, honestly, I haven't watched a lot of movies, but I've been watching a lot of like TV. So like for me, I start a sitcom and then like I'm in that world for like 6 months or a year, I don't know. So I started, I don't even know how many months ago, but How I Met Your Mother.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you never watched it before?
No, I'd never seen it. So I'm at season 7 now.
Okay.
Terrible
ending, but good show.
I know. I've been told, I don't know what happens, but I'm like, I want it. Everything else in the show is so good. Yeah. But
yeah, very fun show.
Yeah, that's what I've been watching. I think tonight I'm gonna watch Dead Reckoning, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, and I think tomorrow I'll see Final Reckoning.
Oh, that's fine. I'm seeing Final Reckoning tomorrow too,
good.
Actually.
They're both pretty good.
What about you, Dustin?
Well, man, I feel like I need an uptick because I tried watching another movie that I thought was going to be funny and like a dry humor kind of way, like poke fun at some things. And so I watched this movie called Mountainhead. It's with
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell and a couple other guys. The dude that played Chevy Chase in
Oh, really?
SNL,
the
Saturday
SNL
Night
movie,
Live movie. Yeah.
So I was like, well, this has to be decent. And it was like the biggest pile of crap I've watched since I tried watching. I hated it.
It was created by the same guy that did Succession, I think.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that.
I found nothing enjoyable about it at all. I thought the humor in it was like, okay, so you're trying to be kind of political and be like typical Hollywood dude. So I was just kind of like, the movie's not funny. So I didn't finish it because I was bored, and I kind of take after, or I've started to take after Jake's wife in terms of when a movie or a book or something is just like, you are not doing anything for me, I'm done. So that was the only thing. And because I needed a reset for enjoyment, I did what I like to do, which is watch old sitcoms. So it's funny that you said that, but I like rewatching the sitcoms I grew up with in my childhood. So I've been revisiting Everybody Loves Raymond, and that is just a joyful show. So
I think I've watched a few episodes of that. I did like it.
It is much funnier. This sounds weird to say, but it is a much funnier show if you if you have been married with children, especially young kids, because a lot of the humor you just relate
it hits
to.
Harder. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. But yeah, so I'm kind of super bummed that the last two Steve Carell projects I've tried watching, I just absolutely had zero interest in and thought they were the least funny things he's ever done. And that was sad.
Man, I was excited for Mountainhead. I mean, you did say it gets political. I wanted it, my expectations, even though I haven't seen it yet, I wanted to go like this very large drama where you're exploring like classism and also like capitalism.
They try to do all that, and it's boring and it's dumb and it's like beating a dead horse in the middle of the road. Like Hollywood.
So they don't add nuance. It's just kind of like
it's just the same. Like hate these kinds of people just because they're the scum and everybody else is better. It's
being released on a platform.
So I'm like, whatever. Like, shut up. It's kind of hilarious having multimillionaires or billionaires like preaching how evil rich people are as they're making movies and earning millions of dollars. So it's kind of like, all right, let's
like I want a movie that like I don't know, maybe there has been one that I just haven't watched, but like since the 2020s everyone has kind of gotten like they're more guarded. I just want like a movie that's like abundantly itself. So if let's say take Mountainhead, where they're just a whole bunch of rich guys that are saying, you know, we're okay being rich. But I feel like with large movies like that, you gotta like swerve through messages.
If you want to watch a movie that, well, just go watch Blazing Saddles, Christian. If you want to watch a movie that is
write this down.
Beyond bold, does not care about people's
sensibilities,
just watch Blazing Saddles. That's the kind of satire we really need now, just so you're aware. Just so you're aware, we need people to come out and just be so blunt and unapologetic with that style of humor. Watch Blazing Saddles.
Did you guys see Damien Chazelle's Babylon?
No. I heard that it sucked when it first came out, so I skipped it, and then since then I've been seeing everybody say like, no, it's actually amazing, and so maybe I should try it.
That's one of my favorite movies. And it kind of was that. It was like full on balls to the wall. It felt like Damien Chazelle's swan song. Like it should not have been, because he was criticizing very subtly, but like the entertainment industry as a whole, while also making like a cinematic masterpiece. So doing both at the same time. But yeah, that was something that I it was a movie where I watched it halfway through. I was like, this is good. And then the last half, I'm like, okay, I finished the movie and I go like, I don't think I liked it. I go take a walk. I come back and I go, this is one of my favorite movies ever. Okay. So it's one of those movies.
I might have to revisit it because I was definitely in the theater thinking, like, I'm such a big fan of this guy, and this movie sucks, and it's boring, and I don't care about all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And but I remember the first half being much better than the second half.
Yes.
And I have thought about revisiting it. Jake and I have talked about this before. We even did a whole episode on like sometimes revisiting movies that you weren't a fan of previously, and suddenly you can become a big fan of it.
Yeah.
I've thought about revisiting it, but then I just don't.
Yeah. It's long. It's long.
Honestly,
so people probably could say the same thing about Sinners. So like, everyone loves Sinners. I went and saw Sinners and I was like, nah, like it was good, but overrated.
It's hard when it just blows up that big and everybody's like, this is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. I'm like, well, probably not, but I'll try to go in with like reasonable expectations.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where I always get screwed is my expectations are here.
Yeah.
As everyone else, and I watch it. I'm like, no.
So you should go in with the baseline of, does it entertain me first and foremost? And then you build off of that. Because that's the most basic form.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's the most basic thing or job of a filmmaker is entertain your audience.
Yeah.
So if you can't do that,
which I could get into a rant about Sinners, but I'm assuming we probably don't want to spend 10 minutes, 20
probably
minutes.
not.
No.
And I don't know about Jake, but I haven't watched it yet.
I haven't either, actually.
Okay.
I've been meaning to and just didn't get around to it before I left theaters, basically.
It's a good movie, but it's not a great movie. I think Ryan Coogler, the director, is a good storyteller, but he's not an intellectual. And the movie tries to portray itself as an intellectual. It really feels like a Damien Chazelle movie, a Christopher Nolan movie. Like another type of movie as well, where it's trying to like, Damien Chazelle, Christopher Nolan, Jordan Peele, I would say.
Interesting.
It's trying to do so many things. There's like 3 good movies inside of it, but I watched it and it was fun to watch, but you get to the end and I go, if I latch onto any of these things, because there's an aspect of, music is an amazing part of society. So that would be like the Damien Chazelle part. And then the Jordan Peele part is like racial and cultural appropriation. I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then you Christopher Nolan, which is like the magnitude of Sinners.
Mm-hmm.
But when you try to follow the characters, when you look through that lens, it doesn't make sense. And then there's a whole post-credit scene that you go like, I'm looking into this psychologically and philosophically, and it doesn't make sense why this happens.
Okay.
Interesting.
I don't know. It's a lot. You'll have to just watch it.
Yeah, we will watch it and DM you about it after that. And then last new thing, I know that at least some of us watched. I think we all watched it. We got asked by Harry Waldman, who actually was referred to us by our friend James at the I Was a Teenage Film Snob podcast. He sent a filmmaker our way to check out this new short, Enter the Room, which is currently in festivals, but should be coming to YouTube and Vimeo later this year, I think. And I thought it was very interesting. So just a 15-minute short film. I thought that it kind of stood out as very unique and interesting in the sense that it reminded me of like just the amount of promise I saw in it was like I could see this filmmaker go on to make something like Hereditary. Like Ari Aster created The Short Bow, and then a couple years after that, did Hereditary. I could see this guy Harry Waldman
making a leap like that,
because it had all of the pieces of. It's about 2 brothers who are just like complete polar opposites of each other, and kind of are forced to start to live together again after a long time. And just the way it unfolds and the tension between the characters, and then it end up kind of going somewhere that you don't expect. It made me, I think, very excited for whatever comes next from this. I would see that as a full feature even, I think.
Yeah. I like the the part of it where it goes in a whole nother direction than what I was expecting it to. It was definitely one where I was like, man, 15 minutes. This felt like a teaser trailer for a story that needs to be bigger and needs to be kind of like a claustrophobic style film where it only takes place in the apartment and and really make you kind of struggle to hold on to what you think is going on or whatnot. I'm trying not to say too much, but it's I thought it was very interesting, especially like as things develop, because I started off with like, man, this guy's kind of a jerk, and then like as it develops, I was like, oh, man, I don't know what to think now. So it's I think it'd be cool to see that as a full fleshed out film and story, but with the same kind of conclusion. I would hope that the conclusion doesn't change, but stays as is, but flesh out more of it, because I think you could really have fun filling in all those gaps. Yeah, I'm with you, Jake. I thought it was a pretty strong 15-minute little short. So
honestly, when I was watching it, you start it and you think it's going one way, and I was like, okay, this feels good in the beginning, but I was like, this feels cliche, and then we get to the third act, and I was okay, wow, this is an interesting change. What I did like too about it was the jarring nature of the cinematography. So in the beginning it was just basic, but there's one shot, I mean there were a whole bunch of like visual shots at the end, but there's one shot where it's one brother's on the laptop, and then you see the other brother in the background, but he's blurred out, but he's talking, and that's conveying kind of the whole story. But yeah, then you get to the end, you go, what did I just watch? And it definitely went fast. Like the first half, it was much slower. I was okay that this is feeling slow, but the second half feels like it's only 5 minutes. Even
yeah, it goes by really fast.
So yeah, I thought it was good. Yeah, just to be able to see this director, directing something big, that this would be interesting.
Yeah. So I think it was really cool. I'm glad that we got to watch it. I think if you want to go check out Enter the Room, they have an IMDb page, Letterboxd page, trailers out on Vimeo, and like I said, it's in festivals, but should be finishing up this end of this year, and I think it'll be available free on his YouTube and Vimeo pages at that point. So follow Harry Waldman and see kind of where he goes from there. Very cool stuff. Okay, so enough nonsense. Are you ready to get into
enough of that nonsense? Now we start this new nonsense.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, I had this idea, and I don't know if it'll work, but we'll try it. I watched this documentary a couple of years ago called Jurassic Punk. It released in 2022, and it's all about this guy, Steve Williams, who also called Spaz, who worked basically at ILM for a long time, ended up being kind of the main computer graphic designer for The Abyss and Jurassic Park, and he's just kind of this guy who doesn't give a crap about anything, but also kind of a genius in pushing forward this technology of digital CGI and models and things like that in movies. And there's a guy on there. There's a bunch of interviews about him and his life and his work and all this stuff and how that kind of all fell apart. But there's a guy on there with, well, hold on, what's his name? John Van Vliet, which people probably don't know the name of, but he was an animator and visual effects supervisor at ILM, worked on everything. Empire Strikes Back, Raiders, Tron, Willow, Ghost, Hot Shots, which we just talked about, and Honey, I Blew Up the Kids for all you Rick Moranis fans.
Which we just talked about in the last episode. So.
Yeah, and just a ton of stuff. And he had this quote in it that stuck with me, and is the one that I put on Instagram to see if it was interesting to anybody else. He said that a successful movie is built on a triangle, and you have art, and at another point you have technology, and the other part you have business. And if any side gets too big or too small, then the motion picture will suffer. And I thought that it would be worthwhile to test that. I think that's what we can do, is to say, okay, if Christian takes business and Dustin takes art, I take technology, see how far we can push it, say, well, technology is the most important part because it's the entire premise of cinema and all that stuff. And then get pushed back and see, well, if technology gets too big, does it hurt a movie? All of that kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of what we'll explore, have some different examples from movies that have succeeded or fallen short, or maybe there are cases where it was too artsy or whatever. I think that there's I think there's stuff there to talk about. So
essentially, this
premise.
triangle that we're going to describe is not going to stay a nice clean triangle. It's going to be morphing all over.
Yeah, it's not one of those. What's the one where it's equal on all sides? Equilateral, I guess, would be. So it's more of a, could be more isosceles or a right triangle.
We're gonna mess these triangles up. That's what we're about to do.
Exactly.
First, we should destroy the premise or debate the premise, because I don't know, like,
you
I
disagree with the
agree
whole
with
idea.
the first half of what he said, but the part where he says if one of these is too big, it can destroy a movie. We have proof that is like false based on corporate entity movies. That like they really are more business, but also art is subjective, so people could say maybe there was art in it. But I think
that to it depends on how you define success. So if you say if one of those gets too big, the movie suffers, then the movie could still succeed at the box office if the goal was business, that you're Disney and you're just pumping out a movie that is a remake of a remake and a sequel to that, and you just anticipate it will be $1 billion movie, then you'll say, yes, absolutely, that's a success. But did it connect with audiences in a meaningful way on the art side? And did it do anything new and interesting on the technology side, or was it just same old, and people saw it because they're sometimes mindless drones who just want to escape for an afternoon and see something easy?
I feel, Christian, that just in the last couple of years, I would say I would agree fully with that statement, that when one is too big or it gets too much, the film does suffer. We'll just go with the most current. We'll look at Snow White as Disney's, that was a big business decision to do what they did with Snow White all around. They ditched the technology because worst CGI ever. But what do you expect out of a Disney live action? They went in with a very abrasive agenda, which audiences have been clearly making known. We're tired of your agenda. Can you just give us a good story? And there was no art to it. They used the worst takes from the whole cast. Like, the cast has come out and blasted Disney for it.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
And it completely failed. Snow White almost got yanked within 2 weeks from the theaters. Considering how beloved the original still is, for the remake to suffer that bad, I think proves that when you allow the business model to kind of control the whole aspect, you definitely don't connect with anyone.
You wouldn't consider that just an anomaly?
No, because then you can look at like Thor. You can look at the MCU. They've done the exact same story for the last 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And audience have slowly stopped attending. Disney Plus has all the shows, and the audiences have slowly stopped showing up because it's the same stuff. They're just sticking with a business model. They're not actually putting a lot of heart or care, or at least for a long time they weren't. And audiences are responding, but in a negative way.
Yeah. So. I think my perspective, changed over time because I think I was reading a book and they said, so I'm going to bring up McDonald's in a movie podcast, but I'm bringing up McDonald's.
They made a movie about it.
The founder. So McDonald's in the early 2000s, I think, people were pushing for vegan diet. And so McDonald's said, okay, we're going to offer that. And then they quickly sunsetted that because people weren't buying. And the philosophy was people, like everyone likes to say, it should be this way. But then if you ask them, are you going to contribute? They won't. Or it's not even that they won't. It's they would never have in the beginning. And so I think the same thing can be said with movies. Is people say, oh, we should have original movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you ask them, how many original movies have you seen this year? I'm guilty of this too. Like a lot of the movies I see are
I think we all are.
movies.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
So what I struggle with is, okay, so if you make a really artsy movie and it reaches 500,000 to 1 million people, and then you have a movie that's a basic message like Lilo and Stitch, like that's like Family Matters or whatever, but that reaches
not according to a lot of audiences. My daughter saw it and she was like, Dad, have you watched Lilo and Stitch? My daughter's 15, by the way. And I was like, no, I haven't, but I heard that the ending completely ruins everything about what made the original great. And she goes, yep, screw that movie. It's horrible.
I have seen that. But let's just say it did, though. Let's say it did.
Yeah. But it kind of proves your anomaly point that even though Snow White sucked, and it was, there were headlines coming out that Disney was reconsidering all their live action remakes because it kind of fell off the rails. And then Lilo and Stitch comes out and they're like, well, maybe live action movies are pretty okay. Remakes are pretty okay.
They are making a lot of money on it.
Which I think that was the discussion with that whole premise is I think there will be anomalies, but I think we're in an age where marketing can really propel a movie further, but also a lot of it's then just, I guess, chance, maybe. I don't know. So I don't know. Like, will the triangle, or will the movie implode if one of the triangle sides are too big? I still would say no. I think it really just depends on the mood of the audience, and I think studios for the longest time tried to gauge the mood, and I think it was easier to gauge the moods of audience. And I use mood very loosely, like it's very, I guess, customer avatar basically in a business, like who this demographic is. That was easier back then because people, even though they were just as complex, our media viewing habits were very simple because there weren't as many options. But now I think it's harder because there's all these other options, and like you can't just make a simple comedy anymore. Like it has to be a comedy superhero, or it has to be larger things to fit over a larger demographic, because I think it's much harder to reach that specific demographic.
I do think audiences are also, because they're stretched by all the entertainment and stretched with money, that everything is so expensive, and going out to the movies, though a lot of people only go maybe once or twice a year, if at all. And so if you were going to gamble on seeing a movie, and you're more likely to just put your money on a safe bet that you're like, it's not going to be incredible, but I'll have an enjoyable enough time. And whereas you could see an original movie, you're like, that looks really interesting, but it could really suck. And I don't know that I'm going to take the risk on it because I have no idea anything about it. It
really makes me, and this, as an argument against my own side, is, you brought up the marketing of stuff. I think there's an oversaturation of marketing, and I think that becomes part of the art side getting a little too much involved in stuff where every trailer you see exposes all the best parts of a story. Jake and I have talked about this for years, where we're like, we missed the actual teaser trailer, which showed you nothing. You saw the cast, you saw the title of the film, and that was pretty much it.
Like a basic mood.
Yeah. Like I remember it was like the very first poster for the first Men in Black movie. All the marketing was Mr. Smith and Mr. Jones, Men in Black. That was it. It was a solid black poster with just their names, and people showed up in droves. I think simplicity is a key thing, and I think there's an oversaturation with everyone trying to be overly artsy with everything they're doing. And I think in terms of the art aspect, I think too many people or too many creators, storytellers, are getting caught up in their stories have to be complex. That really doesn't. Make it simple. Make it fun. You can have a basic film or a quote-unquote safe movie without it actually being a safe movie and still draw people in. I think there's just an oversaturation of stuff, and you can't even trust shows anymore on like Netflix, because Netflix has become notorious for, you know, ditching a series after 2 seasons or 3 seasons.
Literally.
Yeah, because they're not investing in it like stations used to.
Yeah,
even like
NBC
the staple stations like ABC and all these guys, no one's doing the 20 episode seasons anymore because it's an oversaturation. There's too much of this all of a sudden. I think there needs to be simplicity brought back into all of it, the business side and the technology side, because we've seen the technology side. I mean, Jake and I, one of our biggest jabs and complaints about majority of action movies or horror or really anything is the I just lost
use
the word, but they're just so obsessed and so dependent. They're overly dependent on, we'll just do all this in post. We'll just add everything in post. Bring back the, just make a real set. Just shoot your scene on the real set. Like, you don't have to get lost, because then your CGI doesn't look good anyways within a year. The moment you throw it onto streaming, it's downgraded. It just is.
Yeah,
so
there's I mean, the technology for CGI especially has come to incredible lengths, but I think the business is pressing the artists, and so the technology just kind of sits dormant or is used as a crutch because they're like, we'll have it. It's going to be pretty good. We don't need to spend hours and hours and hours and hours with a bunch of people on it. And yeah, the reasons so many people think that VFX sucks now or looks way worse than it did in the early 2000s with like Pirates of the Caribbean or Transformers or whatever.
Yeah, Davy Jones is incredible.
There just isn't the amount of planning up front that to do enough in camera or real life stuff, and or plan it out and give the actual artists enough time in the back end to do the work they need. And so it ends up getting rushed, or ends up being, oh, we'll do it in post, we'll do it in post. And then their list of things they need to do in post just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And so that's definitely a big problem.
I was listening to this visual effects artist, and he said exactly what you're saying is time, but also he said what has happened is now there's a ton of these small VFX studios that are all bidding against each other. So it's like, you know, your small town freelancer where someone's like, I'll do it for 1,000, I'll do it for 750, I'll do it for 500, and then you're stuck in that. And then because it was such a low amount, you're like, well, then we need to get more projects on, and then that's overworked. You know, and I think you brought up a good point, Dustin, that we should go back to simplicity. But I always hear people say what you said, which is, you know, do practical as much as possible. I think VFX is like an incredible thing. I just don't think most directors know how to utilize it the best. So it's not.
I would say most current directors don't.
Yes. It is. That's not taught, or I don't. And I think too is then they're kind of being, you know, hit on the head from the corporation, so that adds to it. But I think a lot of these directors just need to go, okay, what's my vision? Does this work practically or visual effects? Okay, I'm not going to like sleep until I get this done. Or if I know this isn't possible, then we just don't do it. I think there's a director, David F. Sandberg, I think.
That
I think
sounds
that's
right.
his name. So when his horror movie was coming out, I think, did some of the visual effects on it, like as the director. And I was like, that's really cool, because he saw the value in it and was like, well, we could shoot this practically, but I want visual effects, so I'm going to put in the effort to do that. I think that needs to, when Disney hires a director, there should be a meeting that says, our visual effect, like, you need to plan when you write the story. Like, you can have visual effects, but no, you're going to either suffer from bad visual effects, or you're going to have to do this yourself, or
bake it into the process up front. And that seems to be kind of when it's the most successful, is when they plan initially that we're doing Dune. Obviously, we can't do some of the things practically, so there's going to be this VFX shot and this VFX shot. So just like in the storyboarding process, or the writing, even script process,
when
that start planning it out, start trying to get creative.
When VFX is used intelligently, like what you're saying, Christian, it looks great. It comes across really well. The unfortunate thing is, I don't know if it's so much that directors don't know how to use it. I think it's just become a dependent tool where it's just there. It's just there. So everyone just relies on that for anything that needs to be filled in. Just fill it in with the VFX. We're good. Whereas, like, when we were growing up, there was still VFX. You know, we grew up when CGI started. We got to see, like, the first movies that actually really, really dove into implementing CGI into it. And it is wild to watch, you know, that first Jurassic Park. And the CGI looks still better than everything that we've seen in the last 15 years. So it's kind of crazy that a movie from 1994 is still better.
Yes.
And then Jake brought up the Pirates of the Caribbean and the Transformers movies. It's true. Like, I think when you know that you have to have CGI in your film, it needs to be implemented into the start of the whole planning process. It needs to be part of pre-production, part of the storyboard, part of all that. You should have a team already designing with your director so that you have his vision or her vision from the beginning, not just imposed, just rush it out. Here's what we think they should look like. It should be the whole thing.
See, I have a theory on this, the Transformers Pirates of the Caribbean. But also, side note, the visual effects in Dune, I still don't know how they made it look like. That's incredible. But Transformers and Pirates of the Caribbean, what I've noticed with visual effects in movies in the last, like, 5-10 years, they're not good, but when I watch Transformers, it's obviously better. I think it's the cameras. Our cameras have gotten too good that everything feels so magical, which makes it feel fake. Like, everything feels soft, like really, really soft.
So are you saying that this obsession with, like, 4K or whatever next K that they decide they're going to push on everyone, like, we don't need the high resolution?
It makes it harder to hide all of the magic stuff.
To me, it just feels like it feels like a Snapchat filter, where it's just like smoothing out, where it doesn't. The visual effects, I don't know. I guess the equivalent would be when someone is a super big film fanatic, where they're saying, "I got to watch a movie on film," because there's a feeling to that.
Yeah.
I feel that, but I'm not super passionate about it. But I guess I would say the same thing about the visual effects from the early 2000s, is that there was definitely cohesion between the computer-generated image and the backplate. And it's weird because now when I watch movies today, like, I can see the gap, like, and that's what really takes it away. Are the cameras just too good where now the computers can't make it realistic enough, where there's the uncanny valley between, like, the shots.
I think that's definitely possible, that it's much more effort now as well to make 8K CGI
Yeah.
that matches the human's quality that you have on film. But I also think when people say, and I see this all the time, people say, well, CGI sucks now. I think what people are saying are that some CGI sucks now, and it's the stuff that stands out. It's The Flash. It's Snow White.
The Flash
Because
was so
all
bad.
of the other CGI, it's kind of a thankless job. You don't see it if it's great.
Yeah.
You don't even know that that's CGI if it's great. And I think people don't know how often that there is CGI that they didn't even notice. They just see the ones that are blatant, and then they're like, all the CGI I'm seeing is terrible for that reason.
Now, in all fairness, when it comes to the CGI in The Flash, that is a fair criticism because all the CGI in that movie is terrible.
Ridiculously
I
bad.
still haven't seen it yet.
Don't. It's so bad.
It feels like a joke. It's so bad.
It's so bad. I have to say this because this is funny, and I think, Jake, you were the one that started off with saying we're probably going to play devil's advocate against our own sides. We just spent the last half hour ripping into all of our sides of the triangle.
Yeah.
That's just funny. Fun observation.
Yeah, when you brought up Snow White, I thought that was interesting because the original Snow White not only is loved for this story, and that was a big part of the marketing problem that they were saying, well, the original has a lot of problems. We're not going to do that. And obviously everybody hates that movie. And all the fans are like, I like that movie.
Right. Like,
so,
no, it's actually beloved.
Please don't completely ruin it. And then they did. But also, it was the first feature film that was completely hand animated and speaking to the art side, but mostly the technology side of coming up with that and doing it and painstakingly putting it all together in a brand new format that people hadn't seen before made it huge, because I think this is a thing that I personally think that most people care about the technology in movies more than anything else. They like the art and they like the story and the characters. And I think that the business comes out of either one of those two things being super successful, either the art or the technology. But I think just from a foundation, movies were invented with technology in mind, that they invented the camera to make these movies. They started inventing sound to go along with it. Cameras got smaller and less loud and all of that stuff. Invented color, invented all of these things to make movies better. And those are all the big things. But then to go back to the quote that if one thing is too big, it suffers, or too small, even if it goes the other way too. If technology is too small in a movie, it suffers, I think, because if you don't do anything new, you don't try to get creative with anything, you don't have to invent color or whatever, but you have to at least try to take this camera or this lens or this light or this stunt rig or whatever and use it in a new, interesting way, so that people will be like, I need to see that. I've never seen that. I want to see something like that. And the only way I can do it is go and see a movie that did that. And I think that's why I think F1 will be pretty big, is because they're inventing new ways of shooting action. Even though Top Gun Maverick was huge, they're going up another level to say we're trying even harder now, which is exciting, I think.
Yeah.
I've always thought about kind of what you're saying, is that people go for the technology because, I feel like, as all of us are film nerds, we like to believe that. But is that true with the general audience?
I think it's painstakingly true because of Avatar, honestly. Avatar is a boring cliche, done a million times story.
Yeah.
The CGI is not terribly impressive, but the 3D or the gimmick or whatever it was of the first Avatar. Yeah. And then I think James Cameron focuses way too much on the technology, honestly. But that's his thing. He's like, I want to do this. I want to push it forward. I want to do this more than tell a great story or anything.
I think
people keep going. People keep going to see Avatar, and I don't even understand why.
Well, I was just going to say the obvious answer is James Cameron just puts cocaine inside of his movies.
It has to be something like that.
I don't know how to explain the success of Avatar, because they're not that entertaining. They're not good.
Mm-hmm.
They're very long. I don't remember. I remember thinking the second one was slightly more entertaining than the first one.
I thought so too.
But I could not tell you a single thing that happened in the second movie because I can't remember it at all. My daughter was asking me, like, this was a little while back, but we were talking about Avatar, and she was like, "Didn't you see that one in the theater, Dad?" I was like, "I did." She's all, "Well, what happened in it?" Because she was curious about watching them, and I was like, "Dude, I don't remember. I think there's like a whale scene, but I can't tell you what the story was. I can't tell you anything about it," which goes along with, I think it's interesting that you used Avatar as your argument for people go for the technology, because I think that's a good argument to make, because the stories are forgettable. There's no meat to his story. I don't even...
So you could say it's a success from the technological standpoint. You could say it's a success from the business standpoint. Obviously, it made billions and billions of dollars. But is it a well-founded film if it doesn't have that story and it doesn't have the characters and it doesn't have the art aspect? I mean, it has visuals, but is that enough art in it to be considered like a well-rounded movie that people connect with on a personal level?
I think it's hilarious how
I love that movie.
Typically with audiences, when they love a story, when they love a franchise, when they love these properties, they're able to name the characters. They're able to like name moments in the films, in the stories. You bring up Avatar and no one knows what the creatures are actually called. No one knows what planet they're on. Nothing. I have yet to meet anyone that knows anything about the film.
I know they're Na'vi. That's all.
Is that what they're actually called? You might know more than me.
The blue people. And I've only seen the first one.
That's how everyone calls it, is Avatar. And then you always have to clarify, not the Nickelodeon anime thing, but the blue alien guys. And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
That
I think so. You do make a good point, like with Avatar being like the standard, I guess, for people going for technology. But when you said that, I was okay. I would agree with that, but I think it's subconscious, because I don't think you would ask the average person, like, "Why are you seeing Avatar?" Oh, like the CGI like is amazing, or like, I think it's this otherworldly, where it feels, because it's otherworld, like I think people will give it grace on the story if you can entertain me in another way. So I don't think people are thinking about technology,
but they're saying it looks cool.
I'll trade off the story because this is in a more interesting use of the story.
I want to go on a ride, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
I honestly don't know how Avatar got that big, though.
Right.
It's like Avatar's like the fairground roller coaster that you you take. Like,
and James Cameron is an insane carny, just like, I'm doing this 10 more times.
Tickets.
I think that's the first time we've ever compared Avatar to like rundown state fair thing kind of thing. I like it. I
am with you though, Dustin. I think the second one was better. But I'm kind of biased because I didn't watch the first Avatar up until like 5 or 6 years ago. So I can imagine when I watched it, I was going, "Oh, this made 2.7 billion. That doesn't make sense. It's okay." And then I watched the Avatar Way of Water in theaters, and I was, okay, I see why people were feeling the way they were with the first Avatar, is because how immersive it was, even though they really rehashed the same exact story. The visual style was just really good, but also I think what really made it better was the kid actors in it. The kid actors, I felt like acted so well. It was really weird. I was these kids feel like real
Just even
kids.
doesn't remember kids being in the movie.
I like that Jake is just watching me being like, there's kids.
Yeah.
Dude, I legit forgot everything about the movie. I was like, what kids? There's children in the movie? I don't remember seeing little blue kids running around. I remember like the one shot of a big whale eyeball on the screen.
Yep.
And that's about it.
Was the second one even in 3D?
If it was, I didn't watch it because 3D is stupid. Okay. But
I had to watch it in 3D because I watched it like 2 months after it came out, and my local theater was only playing in 3D, and I went, and I was the only one in the theater.
See, I remember the theater experience more when I saw the second one than I remember the movie because it wasn't very full, and I saw it at Alamo Drafthouse, and this is why I remember it distinctly. Is because at some point during the movie, the handful of us that were in it are like shifting uncomfortably in our seats because we're like, how is this movie still going? Like, do something. And, but I remember seeing this guy sitting in the row in front of me, just down a few seats, turn his phone on, and he just started scrolling, which normally really upsets me during a movie.
And it upsets Alamo
Drafthouse. They're known for kicking people out, which I am all for.
Oh, really?
Do it. Boot them. Yeah. No one cared. This dude had the phone.
You were empathetic, actually.
I was like, I get it, dude. I get it.
You do you, brother.
I was like, I won't do it because I can't bring myself to do that in a theater. But I was like, I thought it was hilarious that at Alamo Drafthouse, no one, and they come walking by to like check on your drink and stuff. No one said a word to him. I was like, this is bad. When even the Alamo crew who are trained to boot people are like, we know the movie sucks.
We get it.
We get it. Have fun on your phone, dude. Have fun scrolling reels on Instagram.
That's amazing.
So I remember that experience more than I remember the movie.
That's a very vivid memory. It's very incredible.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's so vivid.
More than the movie.
It should have made me so mad that he had the phone out.
Yeah, sure.
And I did not care. I was like, all right.
I think the Avatar movies are similar to the Mission Impossible movies as well, where it really is James Cameron and Tom Cruise just really saying, oh, you'll give me money? What do I want to do?
But see, I would argue that Tom Cruise has been busting his butt to make an entertaining story for audiences to come back to the theaters, to give them that risk that Jake, you were talking about, to give them the payoff for the risk. Does he risk his life to do it? Literally, yeah, he does. But I'm okay with that because he's kind of crazy.
Well, we're kind of wrong though with Avatar though, because like I would agree with you on Avatar, but we also look at Titanic, Avatar, Terminator, like all those have done well. So people
very well.
So James Cameron has something about him. I know we would say that pre-Titanic James Cameron is far superior to post-Titanic. Maybe not box office number wise, but quality of storytelling.
Yeah.
His movies before Titanic, way more entertaining. They're just better.
I really just think there's something that happened with Titanic that he got sucked into the technology side of it. And he's like, I really want to do this really niche and interesting and new thing.
Which is weird because a lot of the best parts of Titanic were practical effects. The flooding of the models, the ship, the flooding of the models. He actually had the actors in the freezing cold water. Like they did the practical effects for the best scenes in the movie. So it's weird that he completely turned to go the full, like, I only make
nothing is practical.
Like not a single shot of this film is practical. How'd we get stuck on Avatar this long?
I don't know.
Because it's a good example.
It is a good example.
But I think on the other side of it, going back to what we were saying about people go and see it just because they think it looks cool.
Yeah.
I think a good example of that actually being done in a movie that gets all of the sides pretty equal is Christopher Nolan with like IMAX cameras.
Yeah.
If 3D never made it past the gimmick phase, and I think that's fine. 3D sucks. It just requires way too much of the user, and they don't need to be immersed that much.
Mm-hmm.
You've been immersed in movies since they were black and white and without sound. So, but if you take what Christopher Nolan did with IMAX and start using it in just a handful of scenes, people took notice, and then he starts doing it more and more, and he just decides to really dig into that. Like how James Cameron's like, I want to dig into blue people. Christopher Nolan said, I want to dig into IMAX and try to do it more and more, and work with IMAX to get smaller, quieter cameras, and so that I can make The Odyssey, which is entirely IMAX, and like the first entirely IMAX feature film.
I think there's some
that's
overlap
exciting
with James Cameron and Christopher Nolan. Even though I love Nolan, I think the whole IMAX trend that he gets into becomes more of a baby to him, and I'm thinking, okay, this is cool to tell a story, but focus on the actual story, because all of his movies I've seen of his, I watched Oppenheimer in IMAX. Yes, it was good, it was great, but what kept me engaged, what kept me interested was the story. So I think, I know now it feels like IMAX becomes a marketing push, and I feel like I wasn't super media savvy when like Interstellar and Inception came out, so maybe they were pushed more then, but it just feels like the last movies, it just feels like this IMAX thing with Nolan really just becomes marketing more so than the actual skill of it, even though he is using the skill of it.
I think marketing is a big piece of it, just because if you're going to see a movie about the first atomic bomb, you're going to want it to be in IMAX. And you're like, if I see a movie about the atomic bomb in IMAX or not, I'm going to choose to see it in IMAX, because I'm like, okay, that's the one other thing to put me over the top and make me want to go see it.
Yeah. I think the IMAX, I agree with you to an extent that it's starting to be kind of like a marketing tool, because it's not just with Nolan's movies. Several other movies have done this. Sinners was a prominent one this year, where they're like, we filmed parts of this in IMAX. I took that as, and this is probably a negative, but I took that as like, oh, they're trying to cash in on Nolan's hard work, which is, I shouldn't hold that against them, because it's like, this is what you're kind of supposed to do, is like, hey, they got this to work. Maybe we should not copy them, but we should take after what they're doing and build our own thing from it. So there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Both directions, as far as like Christopher Nolan changed the industry, and that people started taking notice, and like, hey, maybe I should film my movie with IMAX cameras.
Doing this, because audiences
and then you have those, like,
responded to the IMAX.
Scenes in like Fallout where it like transitions to the IMAX ratio, and you're like, that is just so exciting. And it's also the exciting parts. It's the parts that you want the biggest screen possible. So that's cool.
So the marketing.
I mean, you mentioned Fallout. Fallout was amazing.
Yeah, Fallout was a lot of fun.
I've never played any of the games, but I did not realize what I was walking into, because it's like, there'll just be random humor, and then it's like thriller but intriguing. I was, wow, this really feels original. Even
I
though
was talking about Mission Impossible Fallout.
Yeah.
Show Fallout.
But the show was really cool too, dude.
The
show was really cool too. It's okay, Jake.
I was like, what are you talking about? No, I got there. I was like, oh yeah, there is another thing called Fallout. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think the marketing aspect of it is okay right now, because it is intriguing to audiences, because they are connecting it to when the ratio changes on a big scene. People have noticed it, and it is exciting, especially during like helicopter chase scenes or a bomb going off that makes the whole theater just like, it's never been brighter, even with the lights turned on. My fear for it is that it becomes just a gimmick, or it becomes just overused, or becomes an oversaturation. I'm stoked for Nolan's Odyssey to be completely IMAX. I think that's going to be incredible. I think if there's ever a story to tell in full IMAX, the Odyssey is one of them. my hope would be following the Odyssey that Nolan would go back to quiet, smaller films.
Yes,
like
the Prestige, Memento.
The Prestige.
Yeah.
Go back to that where it's not so much reliant on the IMAX camera. Use it
Yes.
sparingly like he used to. But I would hope, and who knows, what his future's going to look like. But that's, as a movie fan, as a giant Nolan fan, I would love to see Nolan go back to it. And Jake and I have also talked about that too with like all of our favorite directors. The bigger scale movies that they're doing, we have found ourselves being like, we want to see you kind of go back to basics, like go back to your roots, because those were unique and special without the gimmick, without the...
I said that about Denis Villeneuve. And as much as I love the Dune movies and his epic sci-fi era, I wanted to go back to Prisoners of Sicario and these smaller movies.
Prisoners.
And those, that's our drive for the art side, right? We want the focus.
I walked right into it.
We want the focus to be back on just tell us a cool story, tell us something unique, tell us, audiences have been clamoring for something original. I'm kind of at a place where I'm not sure audiences know what they're asking for when it comes to originality. And part of that might be because the movies that become too artsy, that focus too much on being, I'll probably get hate for this, but Jake and I are used to it. David Lynchy, that actually polarizes your audiences a little bit too much. And so I think that can kind of hurt your audiences. You brought up Ari Aster earlier with Bo. I think Bo is Afraid may have wrecked his career.
I don't know. We'll see how Eddington does.
I saw some early things on it, and people are already like, nope. So I'm also very hesitant on Eddington because of Beau is Afraid. I thought Hereditary and Midsommar were such strong films to come out swinging with, but I hated Beau is Afraid that much. And it's because he got too jumbled into this idea that I have to be as artsy and, metaphorical as possible. And then he talks about...
I felt that same way with Sinners.
Oh, okay.
Did you?
Well, if that's how you ended up... If you're bringing Sinners up as I'm complaining about Beau is Afraid, that makes me want to see Sinners even less. Just tell me this.
I think Sinners is a good movie. It's something though that I probably wouldn't rewatch. I enjoyed it as a movie, but it was trying to be more than a movie. Okay. And I think with Ari Aster movies, even though I haven't seen them, I know kind of it comes from the A24 is you can't really enjoy those just as a movie because the metaphors are so deeply ingrained, whereas Sinners, it still feels like a blockbuster. So you can enjoy it as a movie, but when you try to follow the metaphors, they just lead to dead ends. You just go, this doesn't make sense. Or you're making leaps, but then also like other characters don't add up, and it's just messy.
As long as there isn't a giant penis monster out of nowhere, they're doing something a little bit better.
That sounds like it's made up. It's definitely not.
It's definitely not. Yeah, you think I'm just throwing out something in the attic. There's a giant penis monster.
What?
Yes. I wish I was kidding.
This sounds like the show The Boys.
Yeah,
kind of.
But The Boys is a little bit more coherent than Beau is Afraid was.
Yes.
But that's I want to see the original movies. I am bummed because when an original does come out, usually it's overshadowed by the big, I guess, cookie cutter film or the overly marketed film. It gets overshadowed and people don't go to it because its release date is unfortunate, where it gets put up against big blockbusters that are just going to dominate. So it's...
Or they're set up to fail by the business in the sense that movies used to be made much cheaper and much simpler, and now everything is $100 million movie, it seems like, and there's just no way for most of them to be successful. It's just an unsustainable business model,
especially if you try to film in LA, which actually no one's filming in California because it's too expensive. It's
In
cheaper
Georgia.
to film in like Ireland, to fly the whole crew out, build the new sets in Ireland, than to film in California on the blocks.
On the lot.
On the lot. It's crazy what's going on. And that's the business side getting too full of itself, or trying to have too much control.
Yeah,
in my
I
opinion.
think when I look at the budget, I think one of the studios that I still have a theory that it's a money laundering scheme is the Apple TV, their movies.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have taken great directors, and I don't know what happens behind closed doors, but those directors make the worst movies.
Like Flowers of the Killer Moon, because that movie was 3 hours of trash.
I still haven't seen that one, but no, I think Argyle, Ghosted. Okay, there's only been 3 movies that I have stopped watching. There's the Marvel's Eternals, the Disney Little Mermaid remake, and then Ghosted, which was the Apple TV.
What was Ghosted?
Had like Anna de Armas and Chris Evans in it, didn't
It was like a rom-com thriller action comedy. It was
Okay.
so much. And then there was like a cameo of Ryan Reynolds in it or something. I didn't even get that far, but someone told me.
It got shit on so much. It was like when the Russo brothers did that Gray Man show
that movie
with
was
Ryan
terrible
Gosling
too.
movie on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that.
Oh,
It's
okay.
like, why?
Okay.
That one I didn't like, but I was able to get through. I think the worst. So yeah, Netflix movies I think do come close to Apple's movies.
Yeah.
Very
As well.
little quality to them, I will say that.
Or like Red One had the most insane budget ever.
Huge budget. It was
It's
entertaining,
crazy.
but again, I couldn't tell you what happens in it.
Yeah. And just the amount of entertainment is not correlate with the amount of budget that they put into making that movie that is just okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's always hard though. So you'll see, because I think Red One, a lot of the budget too probably was The Rock's
Oh, for sure.
salary.
Yeah.
And
You can
have
call it
these
his
people.
inflated ego. It's okay.
Yeah. But no, you'll have these people that are like, screw the rich or whatever, kind of going off Mountainhead too. Screw the rich, but it's like, then do a movie that doesn't require this amount of money. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
like negotiate
you-
down. Don't negotiate up. Negotiate
Right.
down and say, hey, like, for the sake of the whole industry, let's not do a
I would
$200
almost say
million movie.
for a lot of these actors currently, I would say that when they're taking on a new script, a new project,
Mhm.
I think the basis should be, in terms of negotiating their salaries, is you are not allowed to do the exact same character that you've done in your last
Ooh.
like 3 movies. You cannot do
You're
this.
saying that the actors should act instead?
Yes, I think the actors
dare
should
you.
actually put their chops down.
Or there should be a penalty for that. Like, okay, if you're gonna play a role, then your budget's gonna be like 50% less or 25% less or salary.
Yeah.
Yeah, like-
Yeah, because then you're just marketing yourself, your brand,
Yeah. And
in another movie.
it's funny. I say that because I have definitely been challenged with a couple actors that I've been a fan of for a long time. But when I try to like rewatch them in a bunch of stuff, revisit their catalog, I have found myself a couple times being like, you don't do anything different ever. Like, what is wrong
Yeah.
with you? And then I'll revisit other actors. One that Jake and I are actually going to do an episode on, slight spoiler alert, later on this year, where he does something different in the majority of his career.
Yeah.
And it's wild to see the range. And then thinking back, like, well, everyone focused on this aspect, but he does all of this stuff.
Mhm.
A big one right now for me was, you brought up Red One or The Rock and Ryan Reynolds, is The Rock and Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
Yeah.
They don't do anything different. Hardly ever. I think the last different thing I've seen Ryan Reynolds do was Amityville Horror. So,
Yeah. Ages ago.
which was, I was in high
Early
school. We were in high
2000s.
school. I
Yeah.
don't even know if you were born yet. I would
We're not that
say
old.
I would say I hope that The Rock taking on that new Benji Safdie, thank you, movie. That, to me, would be trying to earn that paycheck. Because he is trying something new. You can barely recognize him. That's
and
bold.
it's interesting doing that A24 movie, what's it called? The something machine, hurting machine or something.
Yeah, something like that.
UFC guy. I just saw he's talking about doing another A24 movie, and so maybe he's steering the ship into this other thing. But I can't imagine, even though A24 wants to be the next Lionsgate, I don't know that they're paying him his usual highest paid actor in the world.
They probably can't even afford half of what his normal. But I think actors should earn that paycheck. Nothing. Be rich. I don't care. But if your movie budget is $300 million and 150 of that is going to your lead actor, I'm gonna be expecting some pretty big, bold
more than
things
they'll ever deliver
from that lead. Yeah.
Yeah. It's also interesting seeing Maya Hawke came out recently and kind of outed the movie business, saying that casting directors, one of the first things they ask of an actor is, how many followers do you have on social media?
Right. Oh, I'm so glad you brought this up. I was gonna bring this up.
Just that is one of their focuses, is how many people know you and follow you, and then translate that to, well, you are a good person for this role then, because you will put butts in seats. And I don't know that that's true.
I don't think that's true.
So my opinion is, I'm all when I heard her say that, I was going through the comments, everyone's basically ripping on that. I actually really like that idea, because I'm a free market absolutist, where the market's going to decide. So if the studio wants to say, hey, this person has 5 million followers, we're going to hire this person, and then see if it works. And then if it doesn't, then that person kind of gets pushed aside and they're not going to be in any more movies. I think this is just the age that we're in. I think the industry does have to adapt, is that these content creators literally are bigger than the celebrities now. And I think Hollywood doesn't want to accept it, because they still want some of that glamour. I think I don't know if content creators have gotten so big where they can put butts in seats, but that's coming, and I think studios need to find a way to get creators into it. I think it should be more than just cameo roles, and also I think don't just necessarily hire someone for the views necessarily. They need to be good as well.
There needs to be some merit to
there's
it,
a balance there.
I don't pay a lot of attention to content creators. I'm just not of the generation to care.
Or the mindset.
I am of the mindset that you should probably have some talent under you to be put in the movies. And some of the content creators that I have seen, I think that'll be the death of Hollywood. That'll be the death of movies, when they start just putting content creators into movies as more than cameos. I dread that day. But I think it's coming. I do think
I definitely could see it. I could see it being a consideration for sure. And I certainly don't have any problem with that if you have two people and they fit the role and they're both qualified and they both are good actors, and you can't really decide, one has 90 million followers and one has 500,000 followers. You're like, well, okay,
right,
that will tip the scales for me, and we'll definitely hire that person, because it's just going to help the movie in general. I say that I criticize this concept a little bit, but I actually watched the Jake Paul movie, The Thinning. Both of them. He made 2 movies. I don't know if anybody ever knew that.
Jake Paul made a movie?
I didn't know he did a movie.
Jake Paul did 2 movies called The Thinning, and I don't know if he's the only YouTube star on it, but there might be others. But I kind of liked the concept. I thought it was interesting. It's very Hunger Games-y, where it's a future with young high school kids that have to be thinned out regularly. but it was interesting enough. I kind of enjoyed it.
There's
And I was like, I'm surprised.
there's a YouTuber who came up with a movie last year. Rudy Mancuso, that's his name. He wrote and directed a movie, and then he also composed the music for it. It's Musica. It was on Amazon Prime. Honestly, I don't know. It's like a rom-com. I think I don't know how to pronounce his name. Andy Muschietti he produced them.
Really?
That kid's still around? Well, I guess he's not a kid anymore.
Yeah, interesting.
But that movie
Oh, I was thinking of a different guy.
Was so
I was thinking of a different guy. I was thinking of Andy Milonakis.
That's who I was thinking.
Something.
Sorry, Christian. So he was like the first, I guess you could call him content creator that was like
a viral star.
Yeah, he was pretty big for a very, 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 very short stint.
Or very short stint.
Very short stint.
Yeah, Andy Muschietti is the Brave and the Bold director. The new...
Yeah.
Didn't he direct
Flash?
He directed It, right?
And It.
Yeah.
And It, yeah.
But yeah, Rudy Mancuso, I think he originally started with Vine.
Mm-hmm.
And then went to YouTube. But yeah, that movie, Musica, was so inspiring to watch because to watch a guy, and he plays the main guy too in it. So he did all of that. I would say that's worth a watch. I guess if you're not really like rom-coms, then you probably wouldn't like it. But it's done in a really creative way because he has synesthesia. I don't know how to pronounce that, but basically where sounds are, when he hears sounds, they become either colors or different feelings or something like that.
I've heard of that, yeah.
And so he conveys that through the storytelling. I don't know if you guys ever watched Stomp.
Not exactly, but I know what you're talking about.
It's a very niche thing. Well, they use like the Stomp style to like represent like the music or the sounds around him.
Okay.
It very, very fun movie. It reminded me of like a early 2000s movie, and it felt original while also still being formulaic, and where it could have been released to a mass audience, but it still was creative enough.
That everything you're saying about that makes me want to watch that movie. That sounds really cool.
I'm watching the trailer.
I'm like, early 2000s rom-com that it does this new interesting, like, I don't even know what you call that, trying to convey how someone hears colors. That sounds cool.
It looks cute. I'll say that.
Yeah.
You think I'm kidding? I'm watching the trailer.
I believe you. Okay. Well,
where were we?
I don't even know. Talking about,
I think what we've really been doing the most so far, I think we are kind of proving this theory correct, because we just spent a lot of time talking about how all these sites, when they are kind of out of control or taking more space, the other aspects are hurting. The business can hurt through its own fault, usually, because Hollywood is stupid. But they can hurt themselves just by relying too much on the marketing. Art can hurt itself. The technology can hurt itself. I think movies that are able to find really good balance would be those simpler ones. What if movies went back to like the early 2000s style? Christian, have you ever like sat down and watched early 2000s horror movies?
No.
Okay.
No.
They're not good, but they are so entertaining and just fun. And I'll tell you this, people showed up in droves to those movies. The theaters used to be packed. Like, going to the theater on a Friday night, that was an actual event, and it was full every night, like every time.
Yeah.
It was crazy. That was before you could reserve your seat, so you had to stand in line if you were going to a big movie. You stood in line waiting and just hope, like, good seat. But it
makes me wonder, like, are they not because the movies aren't as good or as connecting with audiences, or is it just because I have other things to do?
I think
I have Netflix at home.
I think it's I have Netflix at home. I think it's I have TikTok. I have all these streaming services, which started off with, they were great at the beginning, but they've become juggernauts that I think have
They become cable TV.
they've hurt.
Yeah, more and more.
There's
like
an
it, adding ads and
oversaturation. You brought up the idea of the celebrities, right? The content creators. Some of them are even bigger than celebrities now. I would say that the idea of celebrity is kind of gone.
Yeah.
Because so many people can just put their faces out there now and do whatever.
Yeah.
And most find some form of success. So I think the idea of celebrity has kind of gone away. I think that's a weird concept because it's something that I remember hearing my folks talk about, like, celebrities are dumb. Like, whoever wants to be famous, it's not, they're just people. They're just people. And now it's actually gone. And we're still saying, like, these people are crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I think there's just an oversaturation with a lot that started off good. And now it's just almost too much. We need to scale things down.
Well, you bring up a good point about like the competing nature between, like I saw an article that said like YouTube is like larger than like Netflix, or like it's basically its own studio and they're not even producing anything. But
It's massive. Yeah.
I think we are in an age where marketing doesn't, because we talk about like oversaturation, marketing doesn't matter. Is in order to get somebody to give up convenience, because going to a theater is inconvenient. You have to get ready, you have to go to the event, you have to sit next to people, you have to pay for expensive food. It's all inconvenience on top of inconvenience. And so it needs to become an experience. And I think directors, I think it's a lot of indie directors do it better because they have to, but a lot of large directors, they think, oh, we'll make a movie and the studio will release the movie. It's like what music used to be, where it's like, oh, like my record label will pay for everything, I'll release the music and it, does its thing. It's no. People want the experience. There needs to be a whole authentic marketing plan in place, not just, oh, here's the movie, here's the trailer, whatever. I think recently, Thunderbolts, the marketing for Thunderbolts, the new Marvel movie, was on point, where I wasn't going to see that movie. I wasn't really attached to any of the characters, but I watched the marketing and it just kept hitting me. And this looks interesting. Like, you weren't giving enough, they weren't giving the whole plot away, but it felt like it was interesting. And I think so many directors have even more opportunities than that on a smaller scale to create connection. Because I think going forward, connection is going to be the larger motivator of getting people into seats. Is, do I feel connected to this? Mr. Beast did his show Beast Games on Amazon show. Amazon. The show was like good and weird. That's a whole other topic. But basically, people were coming for him, and so it's, as a director, they understand that your vision is something that you have to create, like a whole like content world when you enter marketing. And I don't think a lot of people think about that. They just think, oh, my trailer is good enough, or like the people will go see it because of that. And I think that it makes sense why someone think that, because they're very biased because it's their own work. But I think overall, going to a theater is literally the most inconvenient thing you can do. But we have the most engaged theater goers ever in history. Like Letterboxd, like if you go through Letterboxd, like these people are fanatics for movies. I think even bigger than it was in the 80s and 90s. But it's, those people have so many other options that you need to give them a reason to go, and not just go. The story matters, but I think before the story is that marketing process, is that engagement, is how can I connect to my customer?
Yeah, I think probably the most interesting marketing I've seen lately was Longlegs from last year, that they didn't even really show what the movie was about or what it was, but they kind of did what you said, Dustin, where they actually had a teaser that didn't really tell you anything, but you're like, that's weird and that's different.
Yeah.
And I need to see what it is.
I need to know what's going on.
Yeah, there's a mystery involved that I need to now go solve, and I wasn't probably gonna, but now I'm gonna.
Yeah. Horror is definitely like its own beast in and of itself, because I think the two most profitable genres are faith-based and horror. But horror is very interesting, where you don't it doesn't need to be, you don't have to have star actors, you don't even have to do crazy marketing, and people will flock to those.
Well, yeah,
it's really crazy
because they know what the fans want to see. I'm one of those fans. I do get excited where I know all the beats that horror movies are going to do. I know them all because it's a formula that works. It's a formula that's tried and true, and it's the most
You're not going to be
entertaining.
surprised anymore.
Yeah, but it's the most entertaining, so I will flock to those. The ones that I laugh the hardest at are the ones where they try to market it as it is the scariest movie ever. They'll do the part of the marketing is showing the theater reactions of people like looking away from the screen or people throwing up, right?
Passing out.
Yeah. When I see that stuff, my instant reaction is challenge accepted, because I know the movie's not going to have any of that effect on me. And typically when I see those movies, I am the guy that gets weird looks because I will laugh out loud at some of the most horrendous kill scenes, because they're just, the overboard is hilarious to me. But horror is great because to me, it exemplifies everything that I want to see in all the other genres. You know what works. You don't have to worry about being this like amazing, world-changing, groundbreaking film. Just be an entertaining movie. You want to bring people in? Be entertaining. That's a big thing.
Make it for $15 million. Earn 50
make
or 80
a cheap
million
movie
dollars.
that audiences will be like, this will be fun. Let's watch this.
Instead of making a $200 million movie, make 10, $20 million movies.
Right.
Right.
I feel like it's as simple as that. And honestly, I think another really, really simple thing is don't aim to, and one of you guys brought it up earlier, is don't aim to be complex. I feel like people now, especially these younger generations of directors, they take pride in going, how can we be different than previous people? Which I respect that, but then it just feels like it's being weird to be weird. Like it's not a part of it. It's okay. I'm okay if the girl gets with the guy at the end or whatever. If you don't add that, it just feels weird, and there's not really a larger message here.
Right. We're from a time, dude, where like it didn't matter the genre of movie. The lead, male and female, were going to kiss at the end of a movie. Yeah. And now, Jake,
that's my biggest complaint about Twisters.
I was going to say, Jake's going to laugh because I actually was in the minority where I didn't complain about Twisters.
I felt that too. I didn't. I liked that they didn't kiss because I felt like it added depth to the characters. That it wasn't that because Glenn Powell is so attractive to begin with. That there would have been no character development, because you're like, oh, this hot guy got his way. Where the whole entire movie was, he really had to earn it. And so to give us that tidbit of, we know he earns it, but they don't show it on screen.
Right.
It's just
like, it's a fun tease. Had they kissed on screen, I don't think I would have been indifferent. I grew up in the time where they always ended up kissing. Like, it's just expected. And when movies don't do it, it does kind of be like, wait a minute, something's off. Something's missing. Yeah.
I would have expected it more. Like, if they kissed, I would have been thinking, okay, this makes sense. I wouldn't have had a problem with it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought the Twisters was so good that I didn't even think about that at all until after I saw the movie and I saw the comments.
Dude,
and I was, good. Like, I would have never thought, like, it ended with them close enough where it implied some sort of connection or kiss or whatever.
And that's good
there's still
enough.
the chemistry and everything.
Yeah.
Dude, you know what else I think would help is not the reliance on, I mean, we talked about it earlier, was audiences say they want original movies. They should probably start giving us nothing but reboots and sequels. Like, maybe go a couple years where you do, hey, here's a new movie that can stand on its own. You don't have to have
I think that's an audience. I think that's an audience issue, though.
I think that studios are putting out new movies. There's a lot of new movies every year,
but they don't get the
original
marketing.
movies.
They don't get
They don't get the marketing.
Yeah, they don't get the marketing.
That's
They
true.
don't get the same.
Unless you're Sinners. For some
Unless you're
reason, Sinners
Sinners.
definitely got a big push. Which they have the names. They have Ryan Coogler, and he's attached to
Black
Panther,
Panther,
which was huge.
And claimed to be like one of the greatest MCU movies. And I've watched it many times.
It's overrated. It is
and
not.
It's such a, like, this movie is not special in any.
I mean, we can get
sense.
really controversial really quickly, but yeah, I'm with you. Black Panther. I didn't see it until it was nominated for the Oscar, and everyone was talking about it, and I said, okay, I'm gonna watch it. I watched it, and I went,
at the peak of the
This-
hype.
this
yeah.
is just- like
so
yeah,
for me to see Sinner's success with the name brand of Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler,
Ryan Coogler.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked, because to me it was very reminiscent of Black Panther's success. And
Yes.
I'm going to laugh when Sinners gets nominated for a Best Picture nomination at the next Academy Awards. Even though other movies that would have come out early in a year would be told you're not eligible, but Sinners will somehow find a way.
Yes. Yeah, I don't. It's honestly, I think you will enjoy Sinners though more than me because you like horror.
I do like horror, but I don't like Michael B. Jordan.
I don't.
And having to watch a movie that's 2.5 hours of two of him, I feel would be
Double trouble.
Yeah, that'd be a test of patience on my part.
Okay, yeah. Everyone was talking about how the visual effects are amazing with the doubles. One of the first shots, is they have, him pass a cigarette to each other, and I was taking out of the movie. I said, "This is bad, unless it was purposefully bad." So he hands him the cigarette, and there's like a delay. There's like a half-second delay with him grabbing it.
Yeah.
And so, to me, it makes sense if it was another person for this delay maybe to happen. If you're not looking at each other and you kind of miss hands or whatever. So I gave them some grace with that, but it was so weird to do because I'm already thinking they're the same person. So you have to make it like perfect with that transition. And as soon as I saw that, I was,
they're not.
oh, this is not.
You want to know a movie that does kind of that same principle of same actor playing two different roles?
Social Network?
Parent Trap.
Even better than that. Is the remake of Parent Trap with Lindsay Lohan. No joke, dude. No joke.
I knew you were going to say that.
When you watch the scene where they are playing poker on the bed at the camp, their interaction with each other, it's not flawless, but it is very close.
Oh wait,
It convinces you they're
wait,
two
when
different girls.
you said remake, that would have been the one that I would have seen, right? That would have
The
been my
Lindsay
generation.
Lohan
the Lindsay
one.
Lohan
Yeah,
one.
watch that one.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was confused. Was there another one? But
I mean, there
okay.
was like
Yeah.
the original, but no.
Yeah, there's a super old Haley Mills.
No,
from,
I thought the
don't know,
same-
60s.
I thought
If you
the same
want to watch
thing.
a good representation of that, you watch Parent Trap. It's
Yes,
crazy.
I rewatched Parent Trap like 6 or 7 years ago, and I remember finishing the movie and just being, how did a Disney kids movie do? It was incredible.
It's a great movie.
I don't know how they did the double. It like you forget that they're two people. or no, not the
Yeah.
one person.
That the one actress,
right.
yeah.
Yeah.
They fully convince you, yeah.
Yeah. That's what happens when you actually care about the product you're making.
Yes.
Which is a big thing for me. I think there's a lot of movies that, I don't know, there comes a point where like you can kind of tell, at least I feel like I can tell, where the actors aren't invested in it, or the directors, you know, if it's a paycheck movie, they're kind of hard to watch sometimes. And then you can watch other movies where you can tell everyone is having the time of their lives and the quality of the movie is so much better than what you expect, like with Twisters. I thought that movie, I was going to write that movie off and be like, I can't believe they're making this. And when I finally watched it, I berated myself for like, why did you not see this in the theater? This was your theater experience movie. Like,
I think I watched it like 3 times in the theater.
that movie was incredible. And it was because they filmed it the same way that they filmed the one from 1995. The callbacks to it were so subtle and so great.
It didn't do any of the expected.
Yeah.
Oh, remember that thing that happened in the original?
Made
fan
a
service
good movie, and that movie was really memorable. Like, that's a cool flick. So
yeah, I think Glenn Powell's on a monumental run. Like, I'm excited. Like, he's one of those actors that I'm genuinely excited, and I will go watch a movie just because it's Glenn Powell.
I hope that's true with The Running Man.
Yeah,
I know. I mean, it's Edgar Wright. What could go wrong? I mean,
Edgar Wright does good stuff.
Yes, he
yeah,
does.
for sure.
I think that's another thing. If Hollywood wants to bring back the idea of like celebrity or bring people into the seats based on who's actually like the star of the movie, bring back the idea of the movie star, because that was a big thing. You know, you looked at Tom Hanks in the 80s and early 90s, well, throughout the 90s. Tom Hanks' name got put on a billboard and no one cared what the movie was. Everyone just cared that they were going to go and watch Tom Hanks on the big screen. It didn't matter the movie. Bring back the idea of the movie star, like an actual movie star. I think that'll help out. But that requires the marketing to be smart. That requires the technology aspect to be smart too, because you got to put your actor in some quality movies with a quality director.
And the actor also to be on the same page, that so many of them buy into this social media, you can know everything about me thing.
Well, yeah, I was going to bring
hurts
that
the
up.
movie starness.
Do you guys, what are your thoughts on that theory that the movie star doesn't exist today because we know too much about them, but also whether it be their political beliefs or anything like that, that then become more divisive?
Yeah, I think Denzel Washington told Michael B. Jordan about that. It's like, they don't be on social media. Don't let everybody know all of your life, because then you lose. If they can see you for free every day, they're not going to come see you on Saturday and pay money at the theater.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
There needs to be,
I agree with that.
The celebrity status, there was always a separation. There was that mystery. There was that kind of like dangerous appeal to celebrity versus the rest of us. Well, maybe versus isn't the right word, but there was a gap. And with social media and everyone just completely oversaturating it with their own lives, it's really hurt that idea. And now everyone can be quote unquote celebrity.
I mean, that makes so much sense now, because like if you have the ability to watch YouTube or go to the theater, the thought process could be, well, I see this actor every day as well, and I see this content creator, I'm going to choose the inconvenient or the more convenient option, versus if it's somebody that you didn't really know anything about, but you like they were very mysterious. You go, I don't see this person a lot. It becomes like that.
Well, that mystery aspect,
especially if it's someone you like. That the only place you can see them is on the screen. That's where they live, the big screen, silver screen. Then you have to go and see them there if you want to see them.
And I lost my train of thought. Never mind.
But it's hard to do with like night talk shows and things when you're trying to promote stuff as well.
Right.
They parade out.
But even that stuff, I mean, like, I think that's what also helped the idea of a movie star back in the day. with that gap was they were able to do so many different roles, and it was always like, can you believe they're doing this role? Oh my gosh, you can't even tell it's them because you didn't know them through social media.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you'd see them on the big screen or showing up on the talk show, like watching an actor do a spot to promote their movie on late night was fun. It was exciting because you didn't know how their personality was actually going to be. And it was always kind of a shock of like, did they really say that? Oh my gosh, are they actually making that joke? Whereas now you're like, well, they're just repeating everything they just posted on their Instagram story. So whatever.
Yeah.
I think that mystery should come back. I think it was more fun kind of having that. Like when you saw an actor being interviewed on some news program, it was like, oh my gosh, I have to watch this. The interviews were never full of meat, if you will, but you were excited to see it. And
I feel like also the actors aren't allowed to be interesting anymore because there's so many like child-proof bubbles basically, or where like you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that, where it's like, tell us. I think Matthew McConaughey is somebody that can do this very well when he goes and talk shows, where he just starts telling a story, and it's not even about the movie, but you go, man, I'm just listening to this guy's story. Like, more actors need to get comfortable with, you might sound dumb, or you might kind of get canceled. Don't go too crazy, but try communicate like your own story.
I think so many can't be themselves because they're worried about being.
They're literally told like you're not allowed to say anything. Like they are prompted to be one certain way. That's why so many are.
So then you really can't differentiate yourself from everybody else out there that's saying the same thing you are.
I mean, actors, celebrities have always been kind of divisive. If you ever watch old interviews with like Marlon Brando, very divisive actor. Like that dude did not care who he made mad, who people. Yeah. He didn't even care about his fan base. Like he just didn't care. And he spoke all of it. I think it was, I forget which movie he won the Academy Award for, but he refused to show up, and he sent like a Native American woman to accept the award for him.
Wow.
Yeah. So actors being divisive has always been a thing.
Yeah.
But now it's so obvious that so many are basically reading a teleprompter on their social media just to fit in with the Hollywood pro quo, or not pro quo, but status. Status quo. Thank you. That they don't come across as genuine. They come across as, and no offense to the content creators, but they come across as content creators.
Yeah.
Not,
that's what I feel like, or I would say promoters. So, I've had this issue with like, this kind of going like a side note, but like Joe Rogan, a lot of people that go on Joe Rogan now are just looking to promote themselves, when the best parts of Joe Rogan is when these people are passionate about what they love or what they do. And it's, I feel like actors should do that. It's like, don't think of going on the show as promoting, even though you're promoting. Think of it as people are coming to see you. Now sell them on you.
Yeah. Well, that was that was the aspect that made them exciting to watch on late night shows. That's what made it exciting when they would host Saturday Night Live, when it knew how to be funny. Because it really sucks now. God, I'll try and watch highlights, and I'm like, you can't tell me this is funny.
It seems like once a year I hear somebody, like I start seeing posts about this one Saturday Night Live sketch or host or whatever. I'm like, that's still going.
Still going.
I had not even heard it.
I haven't watched like any of the older SNL skits, but the new stuff, honestly, I usually like. I don't watch a lot of them, but a lot of them I do like. I did like the SNL movie though. That made me kind of want to go and watch like the whole run. It would take forever, but all the seasons.
That would be an investment, dude. That's that's a very big investment. Good luck with that. I wonder even how long that would take.
And I mean, there's lots of stinkers, but there's also a lot of gold back then.
Yeah, but It was just, there was people weren't so worked up back then over everything either. Like, people knew how to take jokes. People understood comedy. And no one cared. Everyone had thick skin back then. No one's really got it now, so.
Yeah.
But that goes on a tirade that we don't need to do. Jake's looking at me like,
what are your thoughts on AI in the film industry?
Yes.
It's evil.
So, yeah, that was like the last thing I needed to bring up was, yes, the technology is there, and yes, it will definitely be used, but I think that it's just so easily at risk of being everything we said is wrong with bad CGI, of not planning, just have AI do it. Not like you talked about the soft effect of so much CGI that it just doesn't look good. All of the even the best AI we've seen, you can still tell there's something wrong. There's that uncanny valley aspect to it that I agree that I think that people are going to continue to go to movies for that connection with something real. And I think the more that they lean on AI, just like with CGI, more audiences are going to reject it and seek out something real.
Yeah.
Even if it's a small student film, they're going to find way more value in that than a big $300 million budget movie that
relied on AI.
Burned down however many forests to get the energy to run those algorithms.
Yeah. As controversial as it is, I'm in love with AI.
You're crazy.
Based on
it's evil. It's pure evil.
Based on the philosophical, I mean, that's a whole another end of like, what does that make us as humans, and like what is our purpose? But that's like a whole nother thing. But as far as used in technological advancement and specifically in movies, just like I said earlier, like I love the free market. If someone wants to do an AI movie, make it, and the audience will decide. I don't think we're at a point where someone can make a full AI movie and put butts in seats with that. But I think if there's a tool, let the people use it. And
I think that people would show up to see the first fully AI movie just to see what it is.
Yeah,
I think it's like when they filmed that train in the 1800s, and it's like a 5-minute clip of a train coming in a station. People are like, it's not going to be good. It's not going to be a whole story, but it's different, and I need to see what this is about.
Yeah, I think, with AI, the entertainment industry is like fighting something that they can't win. So I think it's a lot of wasted energy when it's like focus on something else, because like that you're never gonna win that. But also, I think there's a beauty in AI. There's a dark side of AI, but there's a beauty in AI of, okay, we have one extra tool that we can use. You wouldn't make a movie, I mean, unless you're James Cameron, but you wouldn't make a movie that's all CGI. And the likelihood of that being good, very low. But if there are certain shots that you can do well, like I think there's always that, whether like there's speaking from a business perspective, but also I think AI can be from an art perspective, because you as the user or creator have to give the AI thought. You have to tell them what you want.
Yeah.
And so it still takes a vision. And I think this is, what people aren't, I feel like debating the nuances of that is art is the vision, not the outcome. And I think people will look at whether it's from a painting or a movie and go, look at the painting and they go, that's art. It was, no, the art was the creation of it, the process of this, the thought that came. That's more the art. And I think AI is just a tool to help enhance that process.
I think it's a
I
cop
could
out.
see what you're saying about art being. I could see what you're saying about art being the vision, but I think the audience will always consume the outcome.
Yeah.
They'll always consume the product of it, and try to discern the vision or what the creator meant by coming up with this and what it means and all that stuff. But then they also decide what this thing means to me, whether it's a painting or a movie or whatever. And it will be weird. I don't really know what it will feel like to look at something that AI created that is just a series of images that it came up with that someone may or may not have prompted.
Yeah.
And then someone to say, I love that. I love that story and I love those characters and I love how it makes me feel and I identify with it and all of the things you get out of movies that may not have anything to do with vision. That may have entirely to do with just what the product was.
Which I think what AI will be is the equivalent of what like Lilo and Stitch or Snow White are today, which it's like they're just there and they're for the mass appeal, the mass audience. Because I think most people don't care about art, and I think it's I struggle with how do you get people to care. So if we lined 100 people up and showed them an AI picture and a picture that someone took hundreds of hours, maybe they could differentiate, but most people don't have an emotional attachment to either. If you told them the reasoning, maybe they would, but just on a look basis, they wouldn't. And
well, it's like that Studio Ghibli creator, whatever his name is, that they create this beautiful anime that I don't honestly watch because I don't like the style, but I do respect the fact that they takes their artist painstaking hours to make a 6-minute clip. And then there was that big, trend a few weeks ago, even that everybody was just AIing Studio Ghibli style art onto everything. And does that devalue the real thing? Is the real thing of more value, or is it the same? It's just a lot harder.
I think long term it could harm the value of that stuff. I think AI is a total cop out. I think it's laziness. I do think it's evil. I have zero trust in it. You're never going to convince me otherwise.
I think that, and I'm mostly opposed to it in the creation of things because it is dependent on plagiarizing what came before, stealing other people's work just to recreate it, basically.
Yeah.
I think there's uses for it of automating menial tasks that takes a lot of time that doesn't really have that art or human aspect anyway. But then I think when it comes to the creative and the actual generation of a story that people connect with and the visuals that people connect with, it doesn't seem to have like the creative. That's the part I don't like, is the having it in the creative process.
Yeah,
I'm on both sides where it becomes like Jurassic Park. Like you didn't ask if you should do anything or should
just
do it.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
People have been missing the point of that story for years.
And it's like a hard...
Mostly people that build the next Jurassic Park.
Yeah, like... if I was Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI, like I think I would have had to step back and go, morally and ethically, is this right as a human to create something like this? But also, as someone who's not in that position, I go, I don't like it, but the genie's out of the bottle. Like, it's going to exist. Like, I remember having this discussion with my parents with Musk's Neuralink, and my parents were very against it. And I'm against that, but I said, if it does work, we'll get to a point where you can't afford to not have something like that. Where if I'm competing for a job interview and everyone else has Neuralinks and I don't, I'm at a disadvantage. And so I think that's the same thing with AI, where I don't want it to exist, but it does. So it's like, how can we implement it well? Like, how can we look at this optimistically that
kind of sounds like you
really
trying
shouldn't
to
have been
embrace
created in the
a
first place.
Black Mirror style lifestyle, bud.
Yeah.
I will reject this stuff pretty vocally.
Well, I feel like I am completely blind to it. I haven't even bothered really using it, but I'm also like, I might be old enough that I could do that for the rest of my life and just dig my heels in on it.
Yes. Yeah.
But then I think about like my kids,
Yeah.
and are they going to be just, if they never learn how to leverage this tool, it's like, how are you going to find a job if you can't type? Or how are you going to find a job if you can't like use the internet or whatever? And it's like, there's certain things that it will advance. It will make things better in a lot of ways. It will make things worse in a lot of ways. And you just need to find where you fit, I guess, in it.
Yeah.
And where movies fit, or where the audience fits, I think is, you're always going to find what you like anyway. If I don't like an AI generated movie, or I don't like the fact that the Brutalist used AI to fix his accent, because I think he didn't really do it, so he doesn't really deserve credit for it. Maybe that's just me, and that's fine if it's just me, because then I can watch a movie where a guy, like, I can watch Highlander where he has a terrible accent, and I don't care, because that's not the point.
Yeah. I have faith in, even though humans can be annoying and do dumb stuff, I have faith in humanity, because we all crave a human experience at some point. Like,
Yeah.
whether or not we choose to do that in phases, I think AI movies, could go mainstream, but there'll always still be a craving for that connection, and if AI movies can't fulfill that connection, then you look for something else. It could get to a point, in hundreds of years from now, where movies as a whole become like AI, where people are saying, movies don't feel like connection, some other medium does. So I think people will always chase connection no matter how good the technology is. And I mean,
and it's entirely possible we could experience the singularity, and there is no difference between an AI person and a human person as far as that level of connection, and you end up in a Blade Runner 2049 situation.
Yeah.
Situationship.
Just you get
I was
AI
waiting
girlfriend.
for some of those movie connections to come out.
Yeah. It's either that or it's Terminator.
I'm pretty sure it'll be
Terminator.
Terminator. Yeah. I'm rooting for that solar flare first, though.
Yeah, if we could just get EMP'd back to like the 80s, then I think movies would be great.
Yeah. I mean, I think it can come back. I think records are coming back.
That's true.
So.
I actually hold on to the fact that vinyl is so popular, because it was still like not super popular when we were finishing out high school.
It was like something that our parents did. Like, that's not
But
cool.
It was right after we got out of high school. That was when vinyl started having this like weird resurgence.
Yeah.
And vinyl does sound better. It really, like, there's something about it that is just...
And it's cool that it didn't just like go away as like a vintage gimmick, that new records are being put on vinyl.
So I hold on to the hope that the fact that vinyls have had this resurgence, like a passionate resurgence, I'm holding on to that example for movies in general, where audiences will latch back onto it, and hopefully more for physical media, not just streaming. Although it is a lot of fun, because every week at my work, all the guys at my work, when they're talking about movies and they'll start looking movies up, every time, it's not streaming on anything.
Oh, I have it. Yeah.
And the majority of the movies they talk about, I'm like, I can go home and watch it right now if I wanted to. And they're like, why?
Oh, yeah.
What's it on? I'm like, I own it. It's mine.
It's on DVD.
Like, I have the copy of it. I can watch it whenever I want.
That's I feel that so much. So I let people borrow my movies all the time. But yeah, so I think I've gotten into vinyl the last year, but I think I have around 50 vinyls. But then I have a couple hundred movies too. I love the fact, even though it is inconvenient, like on space, and I think this is something that my generation is kind of opening up to, is these things might be inconvenient in space. They're convenient in tangibleness, and I think
accessibility.
I think it's because
and shareability.
Yeah, we're in an age where, like, the millennials will buy the latest technology, and then Gen Z, so my generation, we're in an age where we saw the internet come and reach this peak, and we see how fast, like, you upload a video, it gets views within the first hour and then dies off, right? And like, that's a representation of like our life, like, as a whole. Like, that's what I think, that's the lens, is, oh, like, everything comes and goes like that, so then they want to latch on to vinyls or this physical media. You want to have those things because those aren't going to leave.
Yeah, and I do think that audiences, there's always going to be that general audience that is oblivious to who's doing what and what's this technology and did they use what camera, who cares, whatever. But there is, I think, more and more with the age of people being able to learn stuff on the internet of things that they actually care about, that the letterbox users or whatever, that there are more people that are savvy and like, it's really cool that this guy used a film 35 millimeter camera to make this movie and not digital or whatever, and or not, So I think that that's not going away. There are going to be people that still see the value of physical media, whether it's film or whatever.
The future of marketing IMAX is just going to be not created with AI.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's going to be a big thing, honestly. I think that just like people are rejecting bad CGI, that they're going to be like, I want a real movie made by real people with real tangible things.
Yeah, it'll be
we'll
interesting to see what goes on. This wasn't really a debate.
No, it was a lot of ranting about being old and not liking what's going on. But I do think we tackled a lot of interesting topics and ended up with some interesting thoughts. So I'm definitely glad that you're able to join us, Christian, and share some good nuggets.
Thanks.
I didn't even ask you, is there anything that you want to promote or do or have people look up about you or anything else while you're here? We won't give you much more reach, but you're welcome to have the platform if you would like.
No, I think I don't have much. I mean, I did just launch a company.
Oh, he just launched
a company. But I don't got much, guys. I'm launching companies over here.
But the company is not related to film or whatever. But
that's okay.
It's
But they might think you're cool and interesting and thoughtful.
You gotta sell yourself, remember?
Yeah.
It's like
I gotta sell myself. About. No, so the site is called tempora.life. So TEMPORA.life. Basically, we offer the option, kind of going off vinyl, but people upload their videos and edit it on our site, and then we'll take that audio and then put it on a custom vinyl record.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool. That's really cool.
So you could have sentimental moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's a cool market to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Wow. I did not expect that. That's such a cool idea.
Yeah, it's definitely very niche, but yeah, I'm hoping people will resonate with that. I think, like, I'm like a sucker for like nostalgia, but then also with this rise of AI, even though like I love AI, I do crave that connection, that ability to look back or to be with the people you care about. You know, you can.
It's very human.
Yeah, you can have the newest iPhone, but have the oldest friends.
Right.
That's a good point. All right. Well, I think we can leave it there.
Good. I think we're good.
Yeah. If you have any thoughts, I think there's a lot of stuff we missed, or any points you thought we should have made about it being a debate, or why one aspect is better or worse than the others, or anything we said that you thought was crazy and you need to correct us, feel free on social media, or you can leave us a voicemail.
Call us.
And we'll play it in the future. Yeah. There's a voicemail number, or you can just text it to us in the description. And yeah, check out Christian's company. We'll put a link to that in the description. And yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot.
bud.
See ya.